Hi, I'm Aaron, host of Your Decision 2018. Welcome to the Republican gubernatorial primary debate hosted by the Gazette and the El Pomar Forum for Civic Advancement here at the Garden Pavilion at Penrose House in Colorado Springs. I'm joined by Joey Bunch, the senior political correspondent for Colorado Politics. The four candidates for governor in today's debate are former Parker Mayor Greg Lopez, businessman Victor Mitchell, investment expert Doug Robinson, and current state treasurer Walker Stapleton.
And this is a question for everybody. And speak to education funding as Vic did as well. If Tabor is perfect, then what's the solution for education? Doug?
So this is going to be one of the central debates in November between the Democrats and the Republicans. And I think all of us, you'll hear that we are defenders of Tabor. Tabor has been the right thing for Colorado. What is wrong about having a cap on spending and asking the voters to approve it? The Democrats somehow have this elitism that they know better for what's right for us. So I defend and will support Tabor. But this issue of money in schools is an important one. It's a personal one to me. My wife Diane and I have a 25-year-old son. He went to college in California, comes back, becomes a teacher in Denver, and guess where he's living? In our house, because he doesn't have the money. So we absolutely, I believe, have to get more money into the classroom. But a big tax increase is not the solution. We need to look at incentives. As a business guy, say, what would incent our school districts to do the right thing? We've had a huge bloat in administrative spending, and we haven't spent money in the classroom. So I would put out there, and I have put this out there, a challenge to our to school districts across the state. For every dollar you take out of administrative spending and put into the classroom, that means teacher pay, it means computers and textbooks and other things, the state will match it dollar for dollar. Let's see what that incentive does to move educational funding from administration into the classroom where it belongs to make our kids better prepared for the jobs of the future.
Walker, what do you think?
Well, you know, this is a major reason, again, why I'm running for governor, because in the area of education, Colorado absolutely can do better. We must do better. As treasurer, I was the leader of the effort to defeat Amendment 66. I debated a guy who will be on this stage shortly, who was the author of Amendment 66, the largest proposed tax increase in Colorado history, and we beat that 2-1 in this state. And we did so because the money was not going to get into the classrooms for our kids where it belonged. Instead, it was going to backfill a massive unfunded liability with our retirement system. And as a father of 3 school-age kids, I want to make sure that if Coloradans are asked for a tax increase, the money goes to where it belongs. And the constant refrain in Colorado government is, we need more money for education. We need more money for education, but we have this structural flaw in our education system where we're trying to pour more water into the bucket and we're not fixing the 3 holes at the bottom of the bucket. I'm for fixing the 3 holes at the bottom of the bucket, because if you structurally look at our education system, each student is now getting approximately $13,000. A public school class, 25 students, that's more than $300,000, $325,000 per class. The average public school teacher makes $50,000. I ask people, where does the rest of the money go? And it's not meant to be a rhetorical question, but nobody's ever given me an answer. It goes to overhead, to administration. It does not go to the kids in the classroom. This is a question of strong leadership, and I cannot wait to hold the Department of Education accountable for results for all of our kids.
Well, Walker, you talk about the holes in the bucket, but is Tabor a lid on the bucket?
No, Tabor protects Coloradans' fundamental right to hold government accountable for revenue increases. The onus of responsibility should be on all of us in government who want to participate in government in elected office to explain where money is going. And education is paramount to explaining that if we're going to have money that's going to be spent on education, it needs to actually end up in the classrooms, better student-teacher ratios, more technology, and not go to administrative bloat.
Greg, you've heard what these gentlemen have said. What can you tell us that we haven't heard already?
Well, the one thing that I'll tell you that you haven't heard is that, you know what, Tabor is basically a voice of the people that says, we don't trust you, government. We don't trust you at all on how you spend our money, and that's why we put Tabor in place. When we talk about education, do you notice no one's talking about Amendment 23? Remember Amendment 23 was going to make sure that we always had money for education and we wouldn't have to do it again? Yet here we are having that same conversation after the year 2000. You know, it's not about how much money we can put into the educational system, because we've been doing that and asking for that, and people have stepped up for that, and here we are again. What would you say if I told you 1/3 of the 8th graders in the state of Colorado are proficient in math, reading, and science? 1/3. That means 60% of our 8th graders are not proficient. We need to make sure that we start looking at creating real life skill sets in the educational system, not making sure that they all are ready for college, because not everybody's going to go to college. Not everybody can afford to go to college, and a lot of people don't want to go to college. We need to bring vocational and technical training back into the school system and make sure that people understand that you can live the American dream and provide for your family without a college education and $60,000 in debt, where you can't even sometimes find a job within that degree field. I think we really need to focus on the children and their learning.
For information on how to help promote civil and mutually respectful discourse and support expansion of the distribution of our programs, please email info@harbertv.com.
The Rexall Broadcaster of the Year Award recognizes an individual who, through leadership, skill, and dedication, is advancing the broadcast industry in our state and our nation. Tonight, we honor Aaron Harber. Aaron has worked extensively in the media as a host, producer, political and economic commentator, and columnist. Today, the Aaron Harber Show is the focus of his media involvement. Aaron, it is a privilege to present you with the Rexall Broadcaster of the Year Award. Congratulations.
Just make journalism great again. I'm Aaron Harber, host of the Aaron Harber Show. Find us on Facebook to get all the latest updates, see behind-the-scene photos, and make comments and ask me questions. You can see episodes before their TV broadcast, so like the show today.
The Aaron Harber Show may be viewed 24/7 at no charge from any location in the world at www.harbertv.com.
I want to continue with you, Greg. Some of the Democrats are proposing universal access to preschool and full-day kindergarten for all Colorado kids. Would you support that proposal? And if so, how would you want to see the state fund it?
You know, it's an interesting question. Think about it. We've been talking about how the state doesn't have money, how we need to raise taxes, how we need to do sales tax, and yet here we are talking about creating more money for more programs and more systems. You know, from my perspective, we need to make sure that we are helping the young men and women, our young children, understand that education is important. You know, for you to say that not everybody can go to school, or that we need to make sure that everyone goes to school and everyone makes sure that they have preschool. I believe that there are programs already out there in the faith-based organizations. There are programs out there in daycare centers. There are programs out there that currently provide that. You know, we need to make sure that as parents and elected officials, we talk about equality, not necessarily making sure that everybody gets paid for the same type of quality of school, but everybody has the same equality. So no, you know what? Before I even go down that path, we need to first fix the education that we're getting out as it pertains to the high school and middle schools, and then we can talk about how we're going to do any improvements to those that are coming into the system.
Okay, thank you very much. And I meant to give everybody, and I apologize, Kincaid, 30 seconds for this answer. Go ahead, Vic.
No, I would not support that, but I think that that's something that should be determined at the local level. I mean, if a local community wants to pass a mill levy to fund full-day kindergarten or early pre-K, they're perfectly entitled to do that, and we shouldn't in any way from the state level obstruct that.
So what do you do, Vic, about, we have a number of very poor communities. We have counties that don't have the tax base to do that, so that's easy to say. What do we do about those kids where you have families, a community, and especially in those communities where preschool, where full-day kindergarten could really make a difference in a child's life. How do we help them, or do we just say, tough luck?
No, not at all, Aaron. And the urban and rural economic divide is very real. I feel this every day when I'm out on the campaign trail. I had read about this. I've never lived in anything other than an urban or suburban community, and I feel very in touch with the good people of Colorado and rural Colorado.
So
And
what do
yes,
we
so
do?
what
What
can
do
we
we do to
about it
help them?
specifically? It's a matter of priorities. The highest priority right now, most of our rural school districts across Colorado have basically flat to declining school enrollments. They can't hire teachers. They're not teaching math and science courses. They don't have advanced placement courses since their enrollments are flat to
Okay,
declining.
Vic,
There's no
you're
school choice.
making my case.
No,
And,
no.
And many of those districts, because of financial restrictions, have gone to 4-day school weeks as well. So my question is just simply, and I'll give you 30 seconds, how do we help those counties, those school districts who don't have the resources to do what they would like to do to help their kids?
So you wouldn't let me finish, but you're letting me finish.
No, I'm
now,
not
so
gonna-
thank
I'm-
you.
no, I'm not gonna let
So
you
I think the
continue
highest
at it.
priority right now is we should be funding VOCED, vocational tech training directly in our rural schools throughout Colorado. That is real resources that should come from the state budget directly through there. But it's also going to take a lot more than that. It's going to also take investing in the community colleges in these rural communities. It's going to take investing in infrastructure. It's going to having an economic incentive plan where
And
you
where
actually
is that
go out-
money going to come from?
Well, right now we're offering Amazon $1 billion, which is the most wasteful thing I've ever heard in my life. Not one red cent should be going to a company like Amazon. 100% of our economic incentives should be targeted towards rural, economically challenged communities around our state. There is real money in the budget. We keep having this false pretense that we don't.
I think we may have spent it all, though, on transportation in our prior questions. Okay, Doug, I'm going to give you a shot at that. So tell me, whether or not you support universal access to preschool and full-day kindergarten. If so, how do we pay for it? And if not, why not?
I don't, because we don't have the money to do it. We've all seen Jared Polis's ads, probably. We've seen the Christmas tree, the Santa Claus approach to government. And if we had unlimited money, yes, we would spend it, and we would spend it. Everyone would have a new car in their driveway and other things. We don't. We have limits and constraints. We have to figure out what are our priorities, and it's a good thing we simply don't have the money now. Certain districts have decided, Denver and others, that they want to prioritize it. That's their right. They should do that, but we do not have the money overall to do this. I would not be supportive of that.
All right, thank you, Doug, and thank you for doing that in 30 seconds. Let's just give him a round of applause. All right, and one of my jobs is to try to make sure folks get an even amount of time. So Doug and Walker are going to get a little extra time as this progresses. Don't worry. Walker, what's your response?
So I supported a bill in the legislature a couple years ago that involved the private sector and specifically venture funding of early and preschool education because we do not have the money to be spending on that. And I think you should ask the Democrats when they show up here if they're for competition in public education, because that should not be a partisan issue. Tom Boasberg, head of Denver Public Schools, dyed-in-the-wool liberal. He believed passionately in charter schools. And I believe in competition in education will help rural Colorado, it helps urban Colorado, and we are having tremendous success in our largest school district because of the proliferation of charter schools.
All right, Joey.
Well, I'm going to return to the individual question, and Doug, I'll give you a little extra time on this if you want it. You struggled to get on the ballot. Your petitions didn't quite get there. You had to go to court. Walker had problems as well, but he went to the assembly and won it. Should people take that as an indication that you're not as strong a candidate as these other guys? Take a little extra time.
No, I think I can handle that in a minute and a half.
Doug, you don't have to use all of your time, by the way.
You can't
Okay.
just say, shut up, Joey, and go on to the next question.
There you go.
right,
That was my hint. That was my hint.
So this was a difficult decision for me. I'm a first-time candidate. I think most of you know that. I've been very involved in the Republican Party. This was my sixth straight time being elected as a delegate to the state convention. Once, I see Mayor Suthers here, he and I went to a national convention together. So I've been involved in the party. I was on a statewide finance committee. And so that was my approach at the beginning. And then as we really looked at the numbers, as not having run for statewide office, going out and knocking on doors through volunteers and paid folks, we could hit about 80,000 people with literature about me and so on. It was a way, I thought, to better advance my chances to win, rather than going through the assembly, which was about 16,000 people showed up this time. So it was purely a business decision. What is the best way for me to put myself forward and win? And you know, we were surprised by the Secretary of State's decision. We did everything that we could to put together a team that we actually spot checked on our guys to make sure they were doing it right. We thought we had more than enough. And frankly, this whole process, and Walker probably will agree with us, needs to be changed. It's not a process that really works in terms of the validation of the petitions and so on. We had things like the Secretary of State's office, they felt like they had to throw out, and I think they did. My favorite one was Katie Jones. Her name on the books is Catherine Jones, but she signed it as Katie, and so that was thrown out and not counted valid against us. And so, as you recall, we went to court. There were 40, we agreed with the Secretary of State's office, there were 40 signatures like that they said, okay, this is the person who it is. And we were quickly on the ballot. It was about a 10-minute conversation with the judge. So this thing needs to change. I got a little bit extra time. But I don't think that does have any impact on my ability to lead Colorado.
For information on how to help promote civil and mutually respectful discourse and support expansion of the distribution of our programs, please email info@harbertv.com.
I'm Aaron Harber, host of The Aaron Harber Show. You can follow the show on Twitter for instant notification of new episodes, live event invitations, outtakes, and behind-the-scene photos. And tweet us your topic and guest suggestions today. Hi, I'm Aaron Harber, host of The Aaron Harber Show. Because I've never done endorsements or commercials, people ask how are our programs funded, especially because we provide them as a public service to all our broadcast outlets. It's expensive to produce our show, whether we do them here in Denver or go to places such as Aspen, Washington, D.C., or even Iraq. The answer is we depend on contributions to support our work to bring you some of the nation's top opinion leaders. Individuals, businesses, foundations, and other nonprofits make tax-deductible contributions to the Democracy and Media Education Foundation to help allow us to continue to work for you. To find out more or to make a donation, just go to dmefd.org. The DMEF is a tax-exempt public charitable organization and has promised to dedicate 100% of every contribution to support our public affairs initiatives. If you believe, as I do, in the need for a forum which promotes civil discourse and mutually respectful discussion, I hope you'll decide to make a contribution today. I'm Aaron Harber, host of The Aaron Harber Show. Find us on Facebook to get all the latest updates, see behind-the-scene photos, and make comments and ask me questions. You can see episodes before their TV broadcast, so like the show today.
Join me and watch The Aaron Harber Show.
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 I'm Reverend Jesse Jackson. Watch The Aaron Harber Show and keep hope alive.
I'm Aaron Harber, host of The Aaron Harber Show. I very much would like to hear from you about the program, so please send me an email with your thoughts. You can suggest what topics I should cover, what guests I should invite to be on the show, or even what specific questions you would like me to ask. This is your program, so send your suggestions to aaron@harbertv.com. I promise to personally read every one, so email me today. And most of all, thanks for watching.
The Aaron Harber Show may be viewed 24/7 at no charge from any location in the world at www.harbertv.com.
So we've been actually asking some of the questions Joey and I have been asking have come from questions that folks submitted to us over the past 2 weeks. But we've also had some from here as well, and we're trying to integrate all those together. One of the questions we got was, as governor, and Walker, I'll start with you. What can you do about sanctuary cities?
Well, the next governor of, this is a huge issue of difference between the Democrats and all of us on this stage. Public safety needs to be a paramount issue in this election, and it's not being focused on properly. And I was proud that at the assembly, I had Nick Rogers, the head of the Denver Police Union, stand up in support of our candidacy. Nick is somebody who's not political. He took it upon himself to go to Washington, D.C. and testify about how Denver, being a sanctuary city, is harming public safety. And he should know because he's been in the Denver police force for more than 20 years. And We have a huge amount of support from sheriffs. Chad Day, the head of the Colorado Sheriff's Association. We need to have a consistent policy so that law enforcement officials who are on the front lines trying to keep our communities safe know that the next governor of Colorado has their back. And Sheriff Bill Elder down here in Colorado Springs should not have to face legal action and liability from groups like the ACLU simply because he is trying to keep somebody who is a multiple felon, convicted of multiple felonies, incarcerated to make his community safer. That is not a state that has the back of law enforcement. And so I will use the Attorney General, I will use my legal counsel in the governor's office to pursue any means necessary against cities that declare themselves sanctuary cities because of the harm it does to public safety in Colorado.
All right, Doug? Doug, same question.
Yes. We can't allow sanctuary cities to exist in Colorado. But actually, if you listen to the Democrats, they want to make Colorado a sanctuary state. Have you heard this? They want to follow Jerry Brown's example. It is just wrong. We are a nation of laws. We agree to abide by the laws. Even laws that you don't like, you abide by. So in my first week as governor, I would sit down with the mayor of Aurora, the mayor of Denver, the mayor of Boulder, and say, what's going to change? How long do you need? You need a month? You need a week? You need 2 months? What is your plan to comply with federal law? And the governor does have some ability in terms of compelling them, the money that comes from the state to the cities, and I would use that. I would say, okay, we need you to comply with law. It is a public safety issue. It is an American issue in terms of responding and living by the laws that we've all agreed to. So those would not stand under my administration.
Vic, your turn.
Thank you. You know, as governor, I can't force places like Aurora, Denver, and Boulder to not be sanctuary cities, but what we can do through the long bill is cut off their funding, and I plan to do just that. But I also don't think that's enough as well. Walker and I differ on this. I think we should pass civil legislation that holds civilly liable any elected official, whether it's a commissioner or a town council member or a mayor, to be civilly held responsible if they refuse to cooperate with federal ICE agents. And once and for all, we can put this thing to bed. Now, I think President Trump is on the right track with comprehensive immigration reform. We desperately need comprehensive immigration reform. Colorado will be a big benefactor of immigration reform. In fact, we have a very large agricultural business, of course, here in Colorado. But we're a nation and state of laws. When you take the oath of office and you agree to defend the state and the federal Constitution, it means exactly that. We can't have a situation where mayors are saying, I like this law, we're going to enforce it. I don't like this law, we're going to ignore it. I mean, that's anarchy. So I plan to do something about it. This can be fixed.
Well, let me jump in here because you guys are talking about withholding tax dollars from cities, and that's already in the courts. So are you guys willing to spend tax dollars to defend this? And what other political positions are you going to enforce by withholding tax dollars?
Absolutely. We're going to spend every resource because it's a matter of security. It's public security. I mean, how can you tell a victim of a family that's been killed by an undocumented felon that, we just didn't do anything about it? I mean, this is insanity. How did it get to this point? And it just shows you the deep polarization we have. This is the difference between myself and my opponents. I'm not a politician. I've spent my whole career as an entrepreneur building large, complex, very successful private companies. I'm the only major candidate that's not taking any special interest money. We're going to start putting the people first in everything we do.
All right, well, save that. I didn't expect you to make a closing statement so soon, Vic. But having been elected to the Colorado General Assembly, I think it's a little, and having been the only person on the panel having been elected to the General Assembly, I think it's kind of tough to say you're not a politician. But anyway, we're going to give Greg.
Am I going to get to answer that? I mean, come on.
No, you get to answer that in your closing statement. I'm going to give Greg a chance to talk. I'm going to give Greg.
That's not fair at all, but that's tough.
I oppose sanctuary cities, and it's a very basic reason. We're in America. In America, we hold people accountable for their choices and their decisions. I carry the Constitution of the United States in my pocket, and I carry it because these are the founding documents that make our country great. Nobody gets extra protection or extra rights, specifically when we're talking about public safety. When you look at what we're trying to do is when individuals come into our country and they've committed a crime, they've done something that we would hold our own to high standards. And yet you want cities that want to protect them to make sure that they don't get held accountable for their actions and behaviors. That is totally wrong. Sanctuary cities are un-American, they're unlawful, and we as a people need to stand tall against them. This is the beginning of turning Colorado into the ugly twin sister of California. And if we allow this to happen, you will find that there'll be even more issues coming down the pike just like this. You know, it's not about, you know, are we doing the right thing for the individuals? It's about doing the right thing for all of us. It's about all of us, not just some of us. You know, and when you talk about funding, everybody gets a little nervous about, well, you're taking my funding away. Well, at the end of the day, there are leaders that have to stand up and say, you know what? You have chosen for this funding to be taken away because you have chosen to break the law. You have chosen to go in a direction that you shouldn't be going. And so you are going to be held accountable for your actions and your behavior.
You know, we've certainly, the country has suffered so many incidents of gun violence, and of course the school shootings have upset everyone. It doesn't matter whether you're a Democrat or Republican. I'd like each of you, and I'd like to give you, you know, half a minute each to just tell me one thing you would do as governor that you think would have a significant impact on reducing gun violence in this country. And Greg, go ahead. I'll start with you.
You know, I think the reason we are facing so many challenges that we face today is because we've abandoned God. We need to talk about the importance of values, the importance of individuals, and how we band together. You know, a governor can't really do much to stop the mindset of individuals, but he can definitely talk about the importance of life and talk about the importance of us making sure that we take care of each other. You know, this is something that's going to take a long time. I don't understand why our youth are doing what they're doing. I don't think anybody does. But I think we do need to start planting seeds on how we can change that course as we move forward.
All right. Thank you very much, Greg. So, Vic, please.
Enough is enough. I actually wrote an op-ed on this a few months ago following the Parkland murder. The politicians are never going to figure this out, and Congress is totally dysfunctional. What we're going to have to do is we're going to have to lead the nation. We're going to have to bring in the smart people. We're going to have to bring in FBI profilers. We're going to bring in mental health professionals. We're going to bring in behavioral therapists. We're going to look at everything, and we're going to figure out ways to coordinate across multiple agencies to figure out a way to stop these shootings from happening in the first place. And part of that's going to be is enhancing school security measures, but we're going to have to deal with mental illness. There's so many different factors of commonalities that happens. We know in these shootings that seconds are the difference between life and death. We know that, so we have to look at any and all measures to get on top of this.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you, Vic. Doug, your turn.
So this is an opportunity for us as Republicans. We know the Democrats' plan. They want to take our guns away. And we have to lead. And so there are three specific things that I would lead on in Colorado. One is we have to harden our schools. There's a 360-degree toolkit that's out there. We need to have every school look at it, and it has all sorts of things that we can do in our schools. Second, we have to have the courage. We have to lead on a red flag bill that makes sense. This last one did not. It did not have the due process protections, but we could lead and make sure that guns are not in the hands of mentally ill. And third, the last line of defense is an armed person in the school. Whether that's a resource officer or in the right districts, let them decide, a fully trained and armed teacher. We can do this to make our schools safer.
All right, thank you, Doug. Walker, you get the last word on this.
So as a father of 3 school-age kids who I care about more than anything else in this life, I think it's every parent's worst nightmare to send their kids off to school and have a tragedy. There are practical steps that can be taken. I do not believe that it is mutually exclusive to respect Second Amendment rights and keep our schools safe for our kids that we all love and care about so much. I'm for an armed public safety official in every school. I'm for a metal detector in every school. I'm for a single point of entry. And I'm for some of the school districts down here that have decided at the local level to arm teachers. That should be a decision at the local level of school boards. And if they think that that's a step that they need to take to keep their community safer, then I'm all for it.
Next time on the Aaron Harber Show.
Which Democrat do you expect to face in November, and which Democrat do you hope to face in November?
Please contact us. We want to hear from you. And thanks for watching.